According to my watch, we have 7 o'clock. I'd like to call tonight's planning board meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd please stand with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Next is the invocation. If you'll please bow your heads and pray with me. Dear Lord, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come together here tonight and meet on behalf of the town. We'd also like to ask for your guidance and direction over this meeting, and we'd like for everything we say and do be in your honor. Amen. All right. Next is the approval of the August 28th, 2023 planning board meetings. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review those.
Yes.
Any corrections?
Mr. Chairman, here, no corrections. I'd like to make a motion. We approve the minutes from previous planning board meeting.
All right, we have a motion for approval. Is there a second? And a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to item number B, the regular agenda item.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. As you can tell, Meredith Gruber, Planning Director, is not here with you tonight, unfortunately. She is under the weather, and Senior Planner Mike Ellebarger is also unavailable. So tonight I will be presenting and clerking at the same time. So please bear with me. Thank you. The first item is the B1 Town of Rolesville Appearance Commission, and we are looking for input. For this commission, the Board of Commissioners is seeking the Planning Board's input on establishing an appearance commission. The draft language for the LDO was modeled after the town of Wendell because of the comparability of our communities and the similarities of our citizen advisory boards. The purpose of the Appearance Commission is to initiate and promote general community beautification within the town's planning jurisdiction. The commission will consist of 7 members appointed by the Board of Commissioners. However, depending on volunteer availability and staffing, these duties could be added to the planning board's list of items to review. Commissioner Medley, could you give some specifics maybe on what the board would like to hear comments on tonight?
You weren't kidding, were you? Okay, so a couple of years ago, one of the commissioners was kind of leading this here charge on the Appearance Commission. And right now, other than signage, I know that wasn't one of them that was included in this one, just what are we looking for in the town? What are we seeing? What do we want Rolesville to look like? I believe it does also include like landscaping. I'm just trying to recall.
Is the mural that's outside here an example of what could be included in that?
Yes. The short answer is yes. I wish you all were included on that from the very beginning.
I love it.
Okay. So that was, I think, the third, maybe the second or third.
Version.
Yeah. Okay. So, but exactly things like that, because I think they only had maybe 5 or 6 people. It was a very small group. That did that. The other 2 are going to be finished before the weekend, I believe. And again, your input would have been really appreciative on that. But basically, yeah, the things that you would think of that would make it, you know, the beautification, you know, to make it what it needs to be.
Right.
I don't think it would be a big task because it's not changing every day. I'm just at a little loss because I can't remember everything. We didn't mention everything. We just need a committee to be a part of it. And we thought that you all have like a certain skill set that you could help determine that, you know, be a part of that, come up with suggestions. Versus, I'm not knocking anybody's neighbor, versus your neighbor who says they want this type of a plant or they prefer this color or this style, at least you all can bring it, make it make sense, if that makes sense.
I think I was just hoping for some clarification on what type of items would be addressed by the Appearance Commission, because the UDO covers, I mean, building facades and different things that we can regulate, because I know there's some architectural features that can't be regulated by general statute. But, I mean, I didn't know, and at what level is this going to be administered on the plans? Is this going to be an extra layer of approval? I mean, we're going to be looking over every bush and plant and where grass is. And
No, and that's a good question, because I don't think, I do feel like it's beyond landscaping, but I'm saying that could be part of it. You know, so there was no particular list that was given. It's just that the topic at that time, we were saying if we had a beautification committee, maybe certain things would not look the way that they do now. I just thought there weren't any true specifics that are standing out to me at this moment.
I mean, has there been anything developed in the last several years that looks so bad that we need to put rules in place to prevent it from happening again? I mean, I know there's some existing things in town that maybe aren't up to what they would want the standards to be today, but they're old and existing. There's not much we can do about it until there's a change of use. But in the recent years of development, I'm just wondering, is there something that's that bad that we need to bring some new rules in to fix it?
I think you kind of hit it when you said there's old things that can't be changed without a change in zoning, and maybe that will happen for those things that are a constant complaint of, you know, individual to individual. I just don't recall, I really don't recall anything specific that was said, except that that committee wouldn't fall under just volunteers that are not connected to planning. So I guess the goal is we don't want a group of citizens by themselves making changes that may conflict with the planning board, if that makes better sense.
I agree with Chairman Moss. I said that LDO, that it covers, you know, your sidings, your, you know, can it be brick, can it be granite, stone, what, you know, all that's kind of covered for the appearance, but.
So an appearance commission could ultimately help make suggestions or recommendations to parts of the UDO to change that, right? So right now, when something's built, it has to meet each of those standards. So one of the duties of the appearance commission could be something like that. Like, let's say stone goes out of style, right? We don't want to do stone anymore. We want to change that. So maybe they're making a recommendation to that. I mean, it's a very small example, but in your agenda packet is where this comes from, the statute, and there's a list of powers and duties that can be appointed to an appearance commission. It may be helpful to look at some of those to process and think through what that appearance commission's job could be, what sorts of things. I think that's part of what that you all are looking for, is some guidance and perhaps maybe how that appearance commission could give direction.
So who is this commission reporting to? Because I don't think I saw that in here. Is it report to the planning
Page
board?
3 talks about to the planning board, volunteer availability.
Well, it ultimately would report to the Board of Commissioners. The Planning Board, it's my understanding that, yes, if we do not receive enough volunteers, then it could be an item that the Planning Board would take over. But in general, the recommendations would all go to the Board of Commissioners, as they are stated. So the LDO does go in and cover some details that we are allowed under general statute, as Chair Moss had said, but there are some that are ones that we can go in. There was a project earlier that one commissioner kind of questioned the brick that was used and if it was followed to what they had thought it was going to look like, those kind of things. So that would be where this commission would go in and assist with everyone.
So
You don't all have to do it. I mean, if some want to do it, I guess. It's not something that you, my understanding is it's not everybody. It can be all of you, or it doesn't have to be. But just that input on that appearance committee from somebody from planning would be good. And it can even rotate, I guess.
Is this something that's going to be initiated by the town, or is it a developer coming in? So for example, how minor can this thing be? How major can this thing be? Can it be a simple thing as just picking up litter? versus putting in a water fountain near a roundabout or something like that. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking LDO, so my apologies as far as what beautification looks like. The mural outside is an example of beautification for me. I like that. It stood out. I was actually quite amazed by it. So things that are aesthetically pleasing, things that are cosmetically appeasing.
Correct. And I-
Consistency, theme color. I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking outside the box a little bit, different than my colleagues here. So I wasn't sure if we were looking for something like that. but-
I remember there was a conversation I had, and I forget which group it was, but they were out of Raleigh, and they were speaking about how they would put mediums in the road, and, you know, you could pick flowers or
Right.
whatever kind of, so something of that nature, because who would that go to right now? You know what I mean? Like, who would pick
Parks and
those
Rec,
flowers, or who
yeah.
would, there would be a suggestion, there would be a list, but maybe you all knew what would work in that particular, and they were talking about these huge pots at one time going along the side of the sidewalks. Like, I'm not really sure what department that would fall under. So it would probably fall under a beautification committee. When the signs were being created, Welcome to Rolesville, that was something that went under that pseudo beautification committee. But those are already taken care of. Then there was the issue with the Christmas lights. I know Parks and Rec handles that now, but that was something that, you know, who was taking care of that? To this day, I know it wasn't the board, the town board that did that. It may have just been a suggestion internally because Wake Forest helped us with that as well. So I think that would have been something that, what is it?
Appearance
An
Commission.
committee could have helped with. So really, it's still kind of vague, and I think the question was just that would anybody be interested in or have ideas on how an appearance committee component would work with the planning board? Otherwise, who would we give it to? Just give it to the citizens, or you all see the stuff that's coming through? You may notice something that may work for Rolesville.
Well, I think, you know, we see things before they're built.
Correct.
So the appearance, an appearance commission, I could see being applied on both sides of a project. You know, the before and after, and then, you know, a year later, whatever. And then a general kind of, how does the town look from, 10 feet away type of thing. So I can see that functioning pretty well. I can see a commission going through the UDO and looking for something that they think is right or wrong or whatever. And then I could see them, the only worry I have is if we turn this into a board of 7 little, fashion police people running around town trying to say this isn't looking good and that isn't looking good or whatever. So
It's not, wasn't meant for that.
well, I know it's not meant for that, but that's what I'm saying. I think we
that
need to
would
be able to find the definition
Correct.
of this commission so that when these people are signing up for it, whoever they are, whether it's us or a combination of us and residents or all residents, I think we need to be able to say, this is what your role is, right? You can go through the UDO and see what parts of it deal with appearance, and if you have some input, then that commission, I would think, would present that to us.
You read page 1, it's got in here that the appointment shall be made in a manner to maintain the commission at all times. A majority of members who have special training or experience in a design field, such as architecture, landscapes. I think they're trying to eliminate those, citizens or just ordinary folks that don't have some experience that are coming in and say, I don't like the color of this brick, even though that's approved.
Yeah, but the staff mentioned in here also that they're concerned they're not going to get enough people. So it's a question of what, are we going to compromise the ideal member, criteria for the sake of populating this commission, or are we just going to, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why I'm.
It almost sounds like this is a catch-all. If we don't know where to put it, we can stick it here and let somebody study it or figure it out. If someone says, I don't like a particular sign a business has, does that go into the,
I don't think you change
appearance
it, right,
commission?
at that point, because the example you gave with brick was one we gave a long time ago when we were doing the UDO. It was like, what if we said no black brick? right? We don't feel black brick is in this commercial district or the downtown district, right? We want old brick, okay, so they make that suggestion, say, we want to tie this all together as one look and feel. To do that, they need to come to us to get the UDO updated and then approved by the commission. But that to me would be something like, okay, here's the look and feel we want for this area of the town, because we want to make it look, in a single place. Oh, over here, we don't care, right? Your home, we don't care, but in this area, we want this. Or they could make a suggestion around some architectural, landscaping details that we want berm and this, that's the UDO. Hey, for the berm, we want these type of plants, right? We can get more specific, but they still have to come back to the UDO to change that, because it's unenforceable without it.
So that appearance commission could make recommendations to make those changes, to your
Not
point.
the rabid homeowners thing, your grass is 4 inches high, it only
None
needs
of
3
that,
foot.
definitely not
Put the
that.
powers and duties up from page 2. Do you have that in your
We
packet
do
or no?
not have
And to
that.
what,
Okay, that's okay.
what Planning Board Hill was talking about, to your point, policing is not going to be the job. If there's an issue, that could certainly be, directed to the planning department to issue a violation if they're, in violation of doing something. But the appearance commission's job would not be to go around town pointing out, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. Does that make sense? It's
That's
not a
what I
pol-
wanted to make
Right.
sure
Yes.
was clear, and however, I mean, I understand we've got this list of powers and duties, I just want to make sure that that's
But it's not
not.
all inclusive. This is just to get conversation started.
Right.
Right.
On the top of page 2, powers, it's kind of page 1 and 2, and I think that's what Mr. Hill was talking about, but if you go down, you've got 5 of them right there, and the back page has, 30 of them probably, but it says right here, to review plans referred to the commission by the Board of Commissioners, Planning Board, Board of Adjustments, or Town Manager, and make recommendations regarding their aesthetics, suitability, and all plans shall be reviewed by the commission in prompt and expeditious manner, and all recommendations of the commission about any public project shall be made in writing. But, there's 5 different powers of duty there, and it just sounds like it's more of an advisory board, such as,
Yes.
and probably would meet more so as the Board of Adjustments, like once a quarter maybe or something, or as needed, I guess.
As needed.
And that is
Once or
that
twice a
is
year.
what we are discussing here today, is how often we would like to have it. No, they would not be able to make any changes per your question, Vice Chair Cross, about anything from the developer. They would not be able to come in and make any changes. They would need to follow the LDO exactly as it is written. It is more of an advisory, as Chief Lawrence had mentioned, for later on after the fact with that.
So even thinking about the farm, like whenever that's, becomes reality, there might be some suggestions there from this committee, the advisory board and the planning board.
Well, I would think this commission would actively participate in the planning, the concept drawings that the town deals with whenever they have a town project being developed, like the town hall, the town center that was just done. I would think the appearance commission would be involved in those drawings before they even came to us, frankly, and even to you guys. I think that would make
Well,
sense.
when the architects do those, they kind of include that. But then
Include
if it
what?
goes back for the designs, when they're created, that's not an advisory board thing. But how it's going to look, they have to be designed prior to anybody, it has to be designed to come forward first. So nobody's involved in that but the engineers and the architects.
Well, yeah, but I would think that, if the appearance committee is intended to ensure that the town overall looks a particular way, then all the town-related projects should at some point be seen by that commission for the sake of creating a unified, appearance.
But if there's standards put in play, then wouldn't you just follow those set standards that are documented?
The standards that we have in our UDO are very broad in general for any number of different types of projects and for any number of different types of businesses or residential units. But as a town invests in government property and monies, we might want to make sure that we always use, whether we like it or not, the green and blue color themes. And there might be certain kinds of materials or things that play into those themes. I mean, we've got the logo with the bicycle and the clock tower, you know? So when you think about the town investing in a design project, you might want the appearance committee to ensure that some of the elements that create our identity are included in that project that might otherwise be overlooked by the developer or the consultant being
And we're
selected.
not bound by the UDO.
Right,
But you are, the town is,
right,
but we want to be stricter for that
Right.
particular piece. for
right.
local
So I would want to make sure that the appearance
I
committee
don't
is
think it's
involved
gonna
in
go
that
that way,
respect.
Derek, because I think it's gonna take a lot more time and money. I think that when we did the clock, were you on that?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Right? He designed that. We didn't do that.
I'm not-
We talked about what we wanted,
Right.
and he created that.
Right.
And that's where it starts.
And
So
I'm not
any-
suggesting they get involved in the design process of what
Oh.
actually happens. I'm talking about just making sure that whatever is being designed, once it's being presented, falls in line with what the town is trying to do.
What you just said is, we told them what we want.
Right, that's how.
But that, the design committee should be
Right.
going in and saying, with you potentially, and saying, hey, this is what we want, fits in our design, and let them go design and present it back.
Right, but I also think that they can take what we already have and know that we want that to be included as part of the design, so that when it comes back, then the conversation happens prior to that, because they need that, they would know that this is what we came up with, this is our theme, this is our logo, this is our colors, and to incorporate that into a plan. That plan would then come back, where all eyes would be on it, and make suggestions for them to go back again. But they would need to start from where we are now.
Right.
Because
So, right, and so the feedback would come from the appearance commission.
But you're talking about just the town projects itself.
As one aspect of it,
Mhm.
yes. I mean, I'm not talking about private necessarily, but I'm more looking at least one of the things we want them to do is be involved in town projects.
I'm just gonna take it back
I
to
don't
them,
know, I
but,
mean, maybe
no, I can take it back to them, but I know that it took us a lot to get to where we are with our colors. with
I'm
our
not-
clock.
and
No, you're
again-
not taking that away, I get that.
Yeah.
But I just think that anybody comes, and I may be assuming this, but when they come in to design something for the town, like they did with the drawings that we received for the town center,
right.
that was, I don't know how many times they've come back to the board on that.
And that's what my point
And
is.
we tweaked- and we
The
tweaked
appearance
it.
commission would sit in between all of that to make sure that by the time the planning board and/or the town board or commission sees it, it's already gone through this cycle of, you don't have enough blue, you don't have enough green, or, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're involved in like redesigning our logo or making sure of anything. I'm just making sure, I'm suggesting that they would be involved in town projects and at a point to where when a concept plan comes in, they can look at it first to make sure it kind of falls in line with the town theme, if you want to call it that.
Gotcha.
That's
Then that
where,
would, then that would be what we did with Buzz.
correct, right.
So I thought
Right.
I'd look and see what somebody else put. So the town of Carrboro puts it, their appearance commission initiates, promotes, and assists in the implementation of programs for general community beautification within the town's planning jurisdiction.
Yeah, and I think ours says something like that, too, yeah.
General beautification, so it could be more than just looking at colors. It could be, hey, there's a bunch of weeds over here, what can we do? I mean, all of that, if somebody complains, hey, we'll send it over there to that commission, I mean, that kind of thing.
Right.
That's right.
On there, I think that might be part of that also. Or for me, somebody, if they want a special use permit to put up banners for their new subdivision, do we want them to be red, or could we say, hey, we want them to be, white or blue or something? Would that appearance commission be able to say, your special use banners need to,
Right, they would
You
work
know-
with them until they got to a point to where something's ready to be presented, yeah.
Or-
perhaps?
Or another example is also that pollinator garden that's outside. That would have been something that,
Right.
that committee could have.
They would have decided how big, how small, and whether or not that's the right location. Right,
Correct.
right.
So it's something like that, so.
Yeah, I can see that
That would
heavily.
require somebody that has knowledge of
Correct.
what to do with that,
Right.
on a pollinator garden, because I have several pollinator gardens on my properties, and they're really good when they're blooming, but they're gonna look really bad in the winter.
That's what I said. I'm like, wait a minute.
And to
why
do
we
them
have all those
correctly, you don't
weeds
cut
out
them
there?
down. You leave all of the flowers stay in so that insects can overwinter. So it's a great idea, but it may look weedy and junky to some people, but you have to know what it's doing to you.
Yes, and that's what somebody said, oh, they explained, I knew what it was, but I'm like, it looks awful because it's so big. And it was really hot, and I was like, go water it. They were like, no, you can't water it, you only water it X amount of time. So I don't know how to maintain a pollinator garden. To me, what you said is exactly right. I thought it was really big, overwhelming, and dried up. But it still had, the purpose of it was still working. The bees are over there, and whatever else was over there. But I'm saying, to somebody like me, it would get cut down. I would ruin it. But to somebody who has experience with it, they would be able to help create or give dimensions on how big it should be, what should go in there. That would fall under that advisory board.
Well, those are good pollinator plants, and they're good for this area. What's there, it's the right stuff, and
Yeah, that's what I was told.
and
I
it can't
said,
be
"Ew."
too big.
What's too big?
It cannot be too big. I mean, you can have acres of this stuff there's not enough of it. So,
See, but that's me. I didn't know, just like what you had said. Some
yeah,
people didn't know the whole
every
purpose of it.
time we're developing, we're taking away like native trees, like poplars and maples and sourwoods that are pollinators. So adding more to replace is a great thing. They just don't look like what people think. That was one of the big things with the pictures that all of these developers shows on their, especially like Tom's Creek, where they're showing this big old thing with all these plants blooming. That's going to be about 3 weeks that are going to look like that. The other 49 or 40, 8 weeks or the year, it's going to look not great. It looks real weedy and stuff, but that's what that does on that environment.
That would be the purpose of the appearance committee for people like me who saw it when it was blooming and then came back and said nobody watered it. So,
Be out there with a can.
So
Yeah.
I was tempted to, but I'm saying that would be the purpose of an advisory board to, location, with the development of the town center and all those buildings over there, that input would be greatly appreciated and needed.
I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder when we look at appearance, and lots of people love to see, what makes me cringe is going to Raleigh ordinance. Raleigh requires every parking lot to be screened off because they don't like clutter and they want street trees. Every business owner gets upset because then someone can't see the name of their business in front of there because there's a tree that has to be put there. There's lots of arguments about people having accidents because they're slowing down trying to do that. And it's a huge non-sustainable way of landscaping because you have to put a plant that's going to be 18 inches when it's planted. Well, what they do is they put stuff that's going to grow fast, and it has to be pruned 3 or 4 times a year instead of letting them put something that will grow slower but hit a maintained height that doesn't have to be pruned. But some people love that manicured hedge look.
Okay, so I just want to say, so we can go on to the next
He's the
subject.
head of the- he's
I
the
want to
head of
say,
the appearance
welcome,
commission.
welcome, Steve, yes, to the advisory board.
I knew you were gonna do
It's
that.
conversations like this that need to be had, and you're not going to get it from, I'm not ordinary, but I'm going to say today from an ordinary citizen looking at some of this stuff, right? So that's the input we were looking for from the town board. So welcome to the advisory committee. So, thank you.
You better speak up.
So, but you all get the,
First member tonight.
you see how about that?
Shelley, I
And
had
that-
one,
huh?
I was going to have one quick question for
Oh,
Shelley.
no, I'm not
If-
shutting it down because I'm not
Oh.
the chair, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This is exactly the conversation we needed, that I needed to hear, to share with them. This is what we were looking for, people with some type of experience. And we're not saying that we're trying to add another layer onto what you're already doing as a whole group, but where you see the opportunity or you want to offer input into something that comes before this board, and I'm not sure how it's going to come before the board, before this board, it would be, you guys have that skill set, you know?
Well, I think my question real quick, I'm just worried about, you mentioned adding another layer, is just adding another layer to the overall approval process. And my question was, how does the staff envision, like if there's a new commercial building going up, does that go before the appearance commission also beforehand? Or is that something after plans are approved and the appearance commission is just reviewing their landscaping plan and kind of making recommendations as to maybe types of plants and things to put in?
I think I would flip that over, right, is if they were doing it, like, take somebody who really knows the planning area. Okay, I'm gonna have this commercial area, and I'm gonna give the list of things that we would like to see in this. Now, you can pick list, right, but we don't want, if you're gonna grow trees, they gotta be these type of trees, because we don't want the quick-growing ones, you gotta prune a lot, right? But that can go into the UDO for that district.
And I think the UDO does have some of those things in there
It's
as
overly
far as their
broad in some
landscaping.
cases, but again, I think if that appearance committee comes in and says, for different areas, here's the, we're gonna narrow this up a bit, come back to us and
Yeah,
have those
and I think that's where my question is going, are the plans going to continue to be approved kind of as they are, and just the appearance commission is just something that looks at the landscaping plan before the bushes are actually planted in? Because most landscaping plans would just say plant trees per UDO section, whatever it is, and, you know.
They're going to check the box.
Yeah, and
It
well,
meets this
depending on
many
the,
trees and it meets this many
well,
bushes.
depending on the time of the year, what they may plant and what's available, you know, from the, you know, nurseries that
Well,
they
in
can
in
get.
Raleigh, you can't do that. If Raleigh, you have to submit your plan with your building, and you have to put it in exactly like it is, or you have to go and get a variance, because they don't allow you to make that choice. You can bond out if something's not available at certain times of year, but you have to get that approved ahead of time, because they don't want that. Well, I didn't get that, so I got this holly that's supposed to be 6 foot, and I got one that grows 30 because they were meeting the height requirement. That's what would happen is they would put the wrong stuff.
We're doing here too, I believe, same thing, they have to follow the.
Sure, so there's a couple of different things. So it would be based on, it would vary depending on the application that would be received. So that would be the first and foremost, as well as defining the duties of the appearance commission. There are certain regulations that we do need to follow in the LDO as to what can and cannot be placed. And there have been instances where we have held certificates of occupancy or certificates of compliance and completion before they can go in and do that. Again, based on what you were saying, Mr. Hill, about the timing of which they are, you know, can be planted. So there's a couple of different answers to all of your collective questions at one time, so.
So it would go to planning and then to advisory, or to advisory after it's been approved?
And
The
that, I
town
think, is
board.
what we're still trying to work through. I think that's what we're trying to narrow down and understand how that process would be. Since we're creating this process, that's what we're trying to narrow down and figure out now. I believe that's part of the
That'd be something to ask
discussion.
what, you know, town of Wendell has it, town of Carrboro, I mean, you know, checks how they kind of feed off them. a little bit. But I
Do
think
you know
it's
if Wendell's is just an advisory board, or is it what type of board is Wendell's Appearance
I
Commission?
do believe that they are an advisory board made up of citizens, just the same as you all. But I can certainly look into that and confirm that for you.
When you say just as they are meeting here with no citizens outside of a board? Does it have? does it
No, I
have
apologize.
People like me, people like this gentleman here, you're not on the board, that's why I'm singling you out. And then you have board people here, so we don't know how Wendell has it set up.
We are still researching through that
Okay.
process right now, and as we go through, we can certainly, you know, find more of that, fine tune it a little bit more and narrow that down. If we would like it to be more set standards, then that's something that we can discuss.
In Carrboro, they direct to the attention of the mayor and board of aldermen in ways to which the town government may take direct action affecting the appearance. They make recommendations upon any permit or item referred to the commission by the town council planning board. So they make recommendations. It doesn't sound like they have any authority other than, we recommend this for Carrboro, just reading this.
It sounds like to me the right place, at least from my perspective, is to have this sit between the planning board and the town board of commissions. so that, because I see this commission addressing things from three different angles. I see them being approached with new development, existing development, and the existing development is a combination of something that's just being built or in the process of being built, or something that's been built some time ago. And so to give you three examples, if for some reason something comes in through us, so the first example is it would come through us, we would do our normal thing, and then as it gets passed on to go to the town board, before the town board, the appearance commission would meet and then have any suggestions with respect to how any conditions and anything that kind of came out of this would be looked at by the appearance commission, and those suggestions based on the experiences of what the right trees and all that kind of
I
stuff.
thought we couldn't, in some cases, look at what the facades were like when we were planning or approving that stuff.
For residential,
right.
We
general
can't do the
Residential.
planning board, but I think you're saying put it between the planning and the board of commissioners, right?
Right, so that after it leaves us, that commission can then make certain kinds of recommendations that fall within the purview of the UDO and all that, so that when it reaches the town commission, the town board, then they also have that kind of supplemented input on what would really make this whole incomplete. So that would be one angle. And the other reason why I think it should go in between there is because if the appearance commission gets some anonymous email about some weedy field, right, then they can just go right to, they don't have to go to any board, they can just go right to planning and say, hey, planning, can you go investigate this property, and if this is a pollinator field, then we need to get back to this person and tell them it's a pollinator field. Or if it needs to be cut, then the property owner needs to
Planning
cut.
or appearance? You said planning, you mean appearance?
Appearance, yes, yeah. So, so there would just be no interaction with any board, because it would just be the planning department that would interact with that particular scenario. And then if it was a circumstance of the scenario where you have someone complaining about the 3-story brick building that just got built and it didn't have the right kind of brick or whatever, then that might be, I don't know how that goes through the process, but it would, I don't know if that goes to you guys or what, but something else would then, if they have anything else, it would just go right to the town board of commissioners and say, yes, we want to do a mural. And then the commissioners might say, well, let's go run it by planning first, for if that's what you guys want to do. But I just think it's sitting it in between gives them most access to everybody at the right point in time.
Sure.
If I don't know if I've articulated that well, but.
No, I think you did a great job
I
with
think
that.
that you guys should have really been in on that, the murals. You should-
Only because we don't have an appearance
Should
commission.
have really been a part of it, even without the appearance committee, it should have really came here. I know it went to Parks and Rec because it falls under Parks and Rec,
Right.
but I really think it should have came here.
Well, I agree with that in respect to the fact that it's being applied to town property, and I think that's where, you
No,
know.
it's not just town property.
One of them's on the privet.
Oh, that's right, one of them's on the
He was working
privet,
on that
that's right,
today
that's
when I
right,
came
that's
by.
right,
And it looks
that's right.
nice too.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm with Commissioner Cross over here.
Oh,
I
that one?
like it, and
that-
what he's
that
doing
one's
over
finished
there
too?
looks.
The one on Privet is finished?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, 'cause
Yeah.
yesterday,
I saw the outline of it, I knew it was,
Working on it today. What he did was white background or white, it looked good. I mean,
I think for me, I think if we created an appearance commission, it would need to be just as an advisory board that would, meet as needed or no more than monthly. I guess we'd spell it out. And then I'd just like to see, as it goes to the commissioners, to clarify more, as it's voted on, have them clarify more items as to what they want the appearance commission to be looking at.
And I think that's exactly right. So it is definitely an advisory board. It would be, they would be making recommendations all along the way. And I think part of what the commission is, or the Board of Commissioners is looking for is what you're exactly saying. What other things, like I think you guys have come up with some great ideas already. Let's keep brainstorming. What other things could the Appearance Commission be looking at? When you look at this list of duties, what can you imagine they would be looking at? I think you guys have thrown out great suggestions so far to take back.
The only one I would say they would not go to the commission first is if they have a UDA suggestion. Any chance to
Right.
change, like, if
Right.
we don't want black brick in a certain, okay, comes here, we look at it, yep, we get it.
Well, I think
Pass along the
if it's not allowed by the UDO, at that point, they've got to either ask for a variance or text amendment.
But either way, because that's the one question I would have if you put them after, if we come and say X, and yet we're good with it, and then they go and say, well, we don't want black brick, but it's allowed in the UDO, then it becomes a Board of Commissions type of item to say, no, you need a variant. There's no variance, right? We ask you to not do it, but I own the property. But if we're gonna take that as we want to change the UDO for some reason for an area, they need to come back here
Right.
first and then go back.
And that's what I think makes sense because that would be an organic request, that would come from kind of nowhere. And so that's why if they sit in between us, then they could come to us first and then it would channel up. And then if it was something that just needed to go directly to the town board, then it would just go directly to the town board or directly to the planning department. I think they just sitting in between there gives them the opportunity to direct whatever they're dealing with to the right party without having to go through somebody first.
So
Or
do you
go-
need
or
that-
go
is
back.
that supposed
Or
to
go
be-
back, right.
Do you need that in a motion, or just a suggestion to have the board quote it?
Well, so there's a couple of things. We do not have to make a recommendation tonight. We can sit on it and come and talk about it again. Or if you feel confident in a lot of the recommendations you've come up with tonight, you can certainly make that a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. We can continue to research it and have another discussion later. It's completely up to you all how you want to move forward with it at this point. We do not have to make a recommendation tonight.
I would ask that you not,
Yeah,
only because I can share this with the board and bring
Yeah.
it back.
yeah.
I'm thinking, get some information such as Wendell, what does Wendell do?
Yeah.
Where does that board sit? Is it between the planning
We
board
want to
and the
make a
board, or is
motion
it
to
free?
table it and then have some additional discussion after.
I don't even think we have to motion to
Yeah, I
table it.
think
I
this
think
is
this
just a-
can just be a discussion.
Conversation with no motion?
Yep, yep. I think that's fine. And again, if we want to continue talking about tonight, that's great, and as things are popping into your head, if not everybody's had a chance. But I'd also encourage you to look at the duties that are in the statute and how we've already, how the Meredith has already drafted the LDO change now and compare what you like, what you don't, those sorts of things. And I think the other things that Shelley talked about, like is it a separate board or is it a responsibility of this board? And, as Derek, as you were suggesting, it be a separate board and go in between. I think just processing through and thinking through those things.
How many members did it say? I don't recall seeing.
It's a
7, I
minimum
think.
of 7,
Okay.
and that is what was drafted in. It's a maximum of 15, but a minimum of 7 by statute.
And to clarify, Mr. Verstegen, things such as grass and things like that, those are actually already going through our zoning compliance, so those would actually come in through report of concern, any of those. So anything that is in the LDO would have to go through there first.
Yeah, okay.
So if it's only an advisory board, then there's no, okay, what was the word I was trying to use? It's not just like a regular standard board. It's just like members can come and go at any given time. There's no term limits or anything.
No, there are. There are,
4 years.
yeah.
I didn't take term limits, but there was a,
Did I miss a page or something?
So right here, it talked about membership.
3 years, I thought it said, 2 and 3?
I can't remember what I
Yeah, it was,
we're at 2, 3, and 4 right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. All right.
That's a 4-year
Okay,
term.
sorry.
They would be 3 years, but they would not have to cycle off. They would, but they would be staggered. So we would, to start the board, we would start with 4 members or 3 members and then increase at a later date to stagger everyone, so that way there we wouldn't have an entire board going off at the same time, similar to what we have with the planning board, which is an advisory, as you know, as well. So that way there we don't have half the board going off at one time, and that's how it is set up.
So did it mention, I'm looking because I really saw this part and I thought it was something else. It wouldn't be all of the planning board then at that point, it would just be some.
No, so that's the question, is do we want to create a board, an additional board of an additional 5 board members? Or pending if we can receive enough volunteers, would we want to then instead put it with the planning board as their list of duties to review all of those standards?
I would flip, honestly, I would want the difference of opinion from a different group
yeah,
of people.
I agree.
So
Because to have us both do it, that means we're doing the same thing. That doesn't really give you the
Yeah,
difference of
then-
opinion.
yeah,
Right.
then-
I mean, there may be
So
expertise.
have them do it first, and then it comes back
Sure.
to
For
you
your
all.
first volunteer, you may have expertise in the, like, right there.
It's under the membership, section 2. Did you find it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've just put it up on the big screen for you, Commissioner Medley.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's,
right. With
they're
this
gonna do
eye,
staggered with four members for 3 years and 3 members for 2 years. To stagger that, to get started.
Right.
Total of 7.
I missed this whole section, I did not read it.
Yeah.
I thought it was something else.
Similar to the Board of Adjustments as we have for that board,
Okay.
you know, and then as well as here for the Planning Board.
Would this be, would the Appearance Commission be something that would, or could be added as a duty to the Board of Adjustments? Because I think they have a little bit lighter schedule, don't they?
I do not know is that was ever discussed, but that's certainly something that we can bring up to the
We
commissioners
can,
as
but
well
for some
as
reason, I don't
to-
think, I thought something was said as to why not them.
Then the Board of Adjustments, so it's only 3 people, 4 people?
Yeah,
Is
and
it 7? It's not
yeah,
7 people.
it's very
No, it's
small.
not. Yeah, we are supposed to be a board of 5 with 2 alternate members
Yeah.
equaling 7, and we are working on that currently, but yes, that
Yeah,
is
so that's
how that
not
would
gonna-
work.
it's not
But
gonna go in
it
that
could be
direction.
that the alternates could be a full, on the full board of the Appearance Commission and the 5 regular Board of Adjustments. That, it may be an option, rather than creating a whole new 7-member board, is utilizing a board that we've got, and it would give us the difference of opinion, having a whole nother board looking at it. Because typically, the Board of Adjustments doesn't meet as frequently as the Planning Board. Is that correct?
Board of Adjustment does meet the second Tuesday of every month, so they are scheduled for that. The only question would be, because they do hear quasi-judicial hearings, it is more court-like, so I'm not sure if that would be an option. It has not come up in the past to add it to the Board of Adjustment, but that is something that, you know, again, I
It
can
came up, but
certainly
I
bring
just can't remember
back.
the reason why.
And that
no.
was just a thought, is
Sure.
when-
Could just be used as a recruiting tool. Just go to those members and ask them to join that, as long as there's no restrictions that prevent people from participating on multiple boards.
Right. And that's another thing as well. I'm not sure. I believe since it's a citizen advisory, I do not believe so, but
Yeah, the Board of Adjustment is not an advisory board, so
Right.
there could be, I believe there could be overlap. We'll confirm that, of serving, but it would be two different boards.
Right,
They
and that's
couldn't-
what I'm suggesting, is
function
that
as
we
the same.
keep them two separate entities, but then make sure we allow individuals from either one to participate in both.
It
So-
says that you can have subcommittees of different ones up here. It actually recommends that, so.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm just not sure if the Board of Adjustment would be able to be that subcommittee or not. That,
I don't
as
think it's gonna
said,
work
had
out.
well, I'm not
They-
talking about
They
a,
wanted it to go to planning because of what you all do.
I'm not talking about a subcommittee, I'm just talking about being able, huh?
I'm just saying, there was something said about not doing it with the Board of Adjustments, but I can't remember what it was.
I would literally just open it up and see if any, the town's growing, and you got more homes going up every day, and there'll be people interested in doing it.
Yeah.
Well, there's an ad out right now for this one, Board of Adjustments, but we don't have an appearance committee yet, so.
But as I said, if you
that's
have
on
if you have the appearance committee and you have a better definition of what they're going to do, then you are more likely to have some folks who would be interested in doing it. And it's a stepstone, right? They'd be doing, well, I did this, well, you know, I learned a lot about planning. Maybe I'll do a planning board next time, or go apply for the planning board.
That's why we need
It will,
senior
but we
living in the
still- we
area,
still
so that
want
we can
that-
tap into retired individuals.
But you talk about it, right? But my,
I'm not joking, I'm
no, no, I'm
serious.
not, my mother's a master gardener, right?
Right.
So she got her master gardener. She might have been like, this is great. You know, I would do this. I would
Right.
help people figure out what's the best to plant in the area.
But you realize it's still gonna be tied to the planning board, right?
Oh, I understand.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to get out of it. I'm like, oh, you're number 2?
No.
Okay, right behind
No,
you.
you volunteered the guy in the audience already.
All right.
All right,
Is there any,
so, thank
any
you
other
for your
discussions
feedback.
anybody has tonight? No.
So then what? So then does the planning department then kind of reimagine this as we see it here with our feedback? And then are they coming back to us, or are you going to talk about it
That was a
in
question.
the town of commissions meeting and then provide their feedback along with our feedback, and then they're going to go ahead and?
I think, okay, in my head, I'm thinking we're gonna get the feedback from you because you're gonna get the feedback from them.
Who's
and
them?
then
Who's
the
them?
advisory board.
No, I'm not talking about, I'm talking about like right now, today. I'm talking about like our next steps moving forward. I know we've
Oh,
already
yeah, I'm going
gone,
to share this with the board at our next town board meeting,
right.
and then it's going to come back to you all with what town board has said.
So we can make an official
Correct.
recommendation.
With further information.
Correct.
We're
May-
going
may
to
I-
try and
Questions,
answer all
though.
of the questions that you have come up with.
May
and
I
we're gonna
suggest or,
propose them.
may I suggest or recommend us having a work session on this? I don't know if that's something that is appealing to anybody, but right now, as I said, we're going on 8 o'clock here, still talking about something that we can't motion. I'm just curious, is that an option?
Yeah.
Maybe we have a little joint session,
I'll ask for one. I don't know what's on the schedule for
get
our
all
next
the
work
minds
session.
together.
So the town board on the next meeting on November 8th does have this scheduled on their agenda to discuss this topic.
I miss
Right,
you
but I
guys. I
think-
love hanging out with you guys. So let's have a work session if we can, and then hash this thing out, because I do have some questions, but right now, we don't have answers just yet. So,
So are you going to come to the town board meeting and listen?
No,
to that?
I think what he's suggesting is an actual work session.
An
like
actual
one of
work
your work
session.
sessions. So like after you guys talk about it on the 8th, maybe the third week that they have their normal work
That's
session,
The 21st?
even though that's Thanksgiving, I don't know how that would plan out, but whatever work session you guys might have, we would be invited, and then all of us would collectively talk about the idea of an appearance commission so that the planning department, after that meeting, can formalize this document, bring it back to us in whatever would be December or January, for us then to make an action to recommend it however.
Okay, so we'll talk about it in my report. and-
Correct.
The November
And then-
8th meeting,
yeah.
and then the
Correct.
And
next.
then we'll try to get this on for the next work
Right.
session.
I think that
On
makes
21st.
sense. I think that's what was being.
that is correct. That's
Right.
exactly what
Yeah.
I was aiming for. This, again, I like the idea of it. It creates an opportunity to beautify our town. And I think what better way to do this? But I do have some questions. I'd rather table it for another time, because I know they may not get answered right now. We're still figuring it out as we go. So once we figure things out, put some blocks in place, we can have a better foundation from where we can go.
Sounds good. All righty, it's 8 o'clock.
Just a thought.
It's a good thought. That's what we're here for. That's what we're asking everyone for. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
So everyone's good with this topic for tonight?
Yes.
Well, I guess we'll move on to communications.
Okay, communications for the planning director's report. Again, just picture me as a blonde at the moment. Previous planning board recommendations. The applicant for MA 22-08 Harris Creek Farms subdivision located on Universal Drive and informed staff that they would like to hold another neighborhood meeting, which is currently scheduled on October 24th. Which I believe is tomorrow, and then they wish to return back to the planning board to share their updates. So that, you can look forward to that coming back again soon. The next item, C1.B, the Averett Young and Rolesville Road Corridor Study. That one there, Exalt Engineering presented the Averett Young and Rolesville Road Corridor Study to the town board on the October 17th work session. And we would ask you to please watch that presentation on YouTube and email us with any questions that you may have. Additionally, not in your packet at the diocese, however, online, the presentation is in there. The study in its entirety is there as well for you to look at. Moving on from there, communication of planning board recommendations to the town board. There's another topic of discussion. Planning staff is requesting your feedback to see if any planning board member would like to be nominated to either write a memo or to attend the monthly Board of Commissioners meetings generally held on the first Tuesday of each month. This person would provide comments and the reasons for recommendations for projects that were discussed by the planning board. And then, as always, please contact Meredith with any questions, concerns, or for further information about that. So, does anybody have any quick questions that I can try and answer for you for that, or?
I just have a quick question myself. What is that? Is that something new? The chair or designated member could present in person?
Yeah, that's so that, That gives the planning board a voice to be able to go to the town board meetings, to be able to either, again, write a memo or to come to the town board meetings and be able to say what their recommendations were, whether they recommended approval or denial for regarding previous planning board meetings that had been held.
All right, so let me tell you what happened last time I invited some people to a meeting to do that.
Okay.
I was walked right into that little hallway saying not to do it because the group that was meeting that night were very, what is the word?
Vocal?
What do you call when you want to sue somebody all the time?
Confrontational?
Litigious.
Yes, that's the word. And that was the night I invited you to a meeting. I think you and Mike showed up. And he said, don't do it, Michelle. He said, because they're going to say everything against or for, and it can cause a problem. Because that was the whole point of it, having somebody show up at one of our meetings and talk about it when there were questions about, okay, how many voted yes, how many voted no, what was the general
So-
feeling?
I thought,
Sorry, if I could just jump in. When I sat on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, when I was a secretary for that board, when I wrote my minutes, I made a little bit of an executive summary, if you want to call it that, and gave it to Paul, who was the liaison who still is the liaison for Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. And he took that and then decided to do what he wanted to with it, because every town board meeting, as I think we all know, each liaison, like in our case, Michelle, represents what happened here that night. So when I saw that, I'm kind of wondering what the difference is, and is this intended to be something that representative, whoever that would be, would speak to each individual project, or it would just be a summary or a memo? Because to me, that doesn't sound any much different than what the liaison could or should be doing.
And
So
when it's
how is this different? I guess my question is, how is this different from the liaison report?
And I'm going to just say something, add on to that, and when it's real contentious with whatever was taking place at this meeting, I defer to Meredith. So I won't seem like I'm in agreement or
Taking a side.
disagreement. Yeah,
Right.
so that's what we have done.
Right.
But really, the goal was a year or 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, yeah, to have somebody from this board come to a meeting. But that particular night,
That was not.
Dave was like, don't do it, Michelle, because it can cause a lot of problems.
I was
Do
kind of
you-
under
do
the
you have
impression
any
like
idea, like,
Derek,
why
that
you know what I mean?
Michelle was the one that was giving our report of
Correct.
kind of what took place at our meetings as our liaison.
So that is true. Commissioner Medley is our liaison. It is standard practice in other municipalities and other surrounding municipalities to have one person as the designated person, the designee, to go in and, again, write write a summary of what, would be spoken, and then as well as to go up to the town board and present that for each individual one that came up. So any of the prior cases that have come up, the meeting prior, you would go in and just give a little bit of context and a little bit of background for what had occurred during that meeting. So,
I think there needs to be another conversation on that. Because
Okay.
it was
Yeah,
very.
because I would get concerned that summary would then have to be approved by all of us to make sure it's being properly represented, which then makes, how do you do that other than having this circulate through electronic communications? That's the only other way I would see that possible.
couldn't do that due to the open
And
meeting.
also-
So that gets a little bit hairy too.
When some say yes and some says no, again, it's going to be a little bit biased, probably, in that report. And I think that's what Dave was trying to get us away from, but I'm like, that's complete opposite of what we wanted. We wanted a member to come from planning and speak on it, but like you said, Paul changes it up because we have to be careful on what we say, because
Right.
he's like, oh, you can be sued because they love to sue people. I'm like,
Right.
Is it
My
something?
impression, it was just to give a voice to you, the planning
Right.
board members, is that was the general thought. And please don't quote me on that, but I do believe that was the understanding, was just to make sure that you all thought that, you all knew that you had been heard and trying to derive that
Right.
and deliver that information. But as I said, I do know that it is something that does occur in other municipalities. Again, that's something that we can look into more, and as, Commissioner Medley said, we can certainly, have another discussion about it going forward, but it is something, just if you would give it some consideration, and again, all of this, we'll take all that feedback back and kind of go through there. So, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So from there, we move on to the town attorney's report.
Yes, so this has actually already been mentioned a little bit tonight, but we have 2 vacancies for the Board of Adjustment right now, which means they can't hear anything because they do not have a quorum. And so we really need you all maybe to help us think through and maybe recruit some members for that board. So as you kind of think through your sphere of people around here in town that could be a good member of that team, definitely reach out and suggest that to the planning department or to us, and let us know those names that may come to mind, so that we can fill those vacancies.
Board of Adjustments has to
Whoever
live
doesn't
in-
get voted in on November 7th. Those would be the first person I think I would be interested, otherwise, anyway.
The Board of Adjustments, they have to be a
I mean,
resident of the town.
I mean, either you're interested or you're not,
I think it can be the full area.
We need to have
ETJ?
both. We need
Is
to
it
have
both?
both
Okay, I was-
residents of
'cause I thought the
in-town
ETJ
and
is-
ETJ.
Okay.
Never mind. I
I guess-
defer to expertise.
The current members are listed on the website.
Current members are listed on the website. Currently, we have 2 in town and 1 of our ETJ. Again, we need to enhance that to 5 members. We're looking for at least 5 members, and 2 alternate members is what we would hope to have as well. So if anyone is interested, we do have the applications on our website under the town clerk, under her page, and then if not, you will see me milling about at the Fall Fun Fest with a flyer and a clipboard, trying to, again, get the word out, so.
I just don't get why that board is so hard to fill. I don't think it's ever been, I don't even think it really had anybody when I first got on 8 years ago.
It was new.
Hadn't really been much in existence in the
No.
last couple of years.
We
anyway,
have
right?
not, I mean, I've been here almost 6 years, and I've clerked for it all 6 years, and we have had 2 cases prior. We had 3, 1 did not come to fruition, and so that is, but we meet the second Tuesday of every month. We offer a complimentary lunch to sit here and listen to the cases, and that's
Somebody
it.
call Mark and tell him he's out of retirement.
There we go.
Have the number of cases increased for the Board of Adjustments?
So we did have 2 cases that would have been heard in October. Unfortunately, we were not able to make quorum. We did not have enough members that were able to make it during that day. So we did have 2 variance cases that did request to come before the Board of Adjustment on that day. One would have been 6,000 Rogers Road, and one would have been Pete Smith's Tire and Quick Lube. So those are the 2 that are currently sitting waiting for us to hear at this time.
What kind of adjustments are they related to, or is that cannot be discussed?
These 2 are related to variances, and unfortunately, all of their paperwork is online, so you can go in
Oh, okay,
and read them. I'm not sure what I'm exactly at liberty to say or not say, so I do
Okay, that's
apologize
fair-
for that.
That's fair enough, I was just curious.
The 2 pending cases are variances, though, so.
All right. Anything else to report?
That is all I have. Thank you.
All right. Any other business from staff or board members?
I actually have one question, and this is kind of to the board in general, and then maybe directed to planning eventually. Are anybody interested in looking at having the town draw up a historic district ordinance? Wake County has one, or Wake Forest has one. We have 3 properties that are in Rolesville, at least using the Rolesville address, not necessarily in our jurisdiction, that are currently on the National Historic Registry site and categorized that way. Then we have 3 that are within our planning jurisdiction that are on the study list. That being the Perry subdivision, which is right behind the firehouse. That's on the historic study list for the architecture from the mid-'80s. So that's why they're on the study list. The Fleming Rogers House and the John Terrell John Lewis Terrell House, both of those are on the study list. So I'm curious if we want to explore the idea of creating an ordinance for historic district or historic properties. Most of the research I've done is any town ordinance is usually predicated on the fact that it's already on the national study list, so that we don't have to worry about figuring out whether it qualifies. What that ordinance usually does at the town level is just provide some sort of additional incentive, whether it's some sort of tax rebate or tax credit or a little bit more of a discount or fixed rate on taxes. There's a number of different things a number of different municipalities are doing. But generally, they're used to help those properties in those districts protect them from being really pressured by the growth around it, whether mostly financial protection. So I don't know if you guys are interested in asking the planning department to do a little bit of their research over the next couple months when they have time, you know, or whether we do it ourselves and bring something to get them started. It sounds like it's probably something you guys would probably prefer. I just wanted to put it out there if it's something that any of you guys feel is a good time to do this, given the growth that we're experiencing right now and the kinds of things that get exposed.
I'd be curious as to whether those property owners want to be in a historic district or not.
Well, that you would have to declare that home, right? So again, the home itself would have to be on either under study or actually on it. And they put like real hard, requirements on you can't change anything.
Well, so the way the National Historic Registry works is there are no restrictions on the properties. Just because you're in a historic district or you're labeled as a historic building, you can still paint it pink if your ordinance allows you to. You can still destroy that and tear it down if the ordinance allows it to. Everything is optional. So if you want to take advantage of a tax credit, if you want to take advantage of whatever, then you have to comply with the ordinances that are related to that. The whole reason why the federal government created the National Historic Registry is to make sure that when the federal government spends money on something, that they're not destroying something that has value. So it just creates a little bit of an extra, hey, wait a second, before you do this, let's go figure out if this has significance. So for anybody who is a property owner that would fall in that category of being a national registered property, it's still completely up to them. It's not more restricting. It's just giving them more opportunities is really what that does.
I think that's what we had years ago, because we had a historic district for quite a while in Rolesville, and it's no longer historic, especially on North Main Street. But at that time, it was, you couldn't change the color of your house. You couldn't, take the front porch off and put a bigger porch on or any of that.
Right.
So that was restricting factors on, but I remember.
Yeah, and this kind of ordinance usually, doesn't restrict that. It just says that if you're going to take advantage of any of the town incentives, then you can't do those kinds of things. But if you don't want to take advantage of any of those incentives, you can do what you want as long as you're within the town
So
ordinance.
is the town incentives coming from the town then? Is that approved by the town?
We don't know, this
or-
is just something he's.
No, I'm just asking, I'm believing more from Aaron to see illegally, have you ever heard of that?
I would have to look into that and get back to you.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious where the credits would come from. if
Right.
That would automatic, because you're nationally registered, is that automatic the town has to, or probably has to be voted in and?
If we want to pursue looking into something like that, we can certainly
Yeah,
check into it.
The research I did had, each of the towns had a historic commission. And then those people, made those kinds of decisions and usually handled that.
So I believe that that's something that you can actually, the comp plan is actually getting ready to be updated, and I believe that's something that falls under the comp plan, so that might be something, again, I'll mention it to Meredith and
Okay.
ask her to get in contact with you.
Okay.
But I do believe that that's something that may fall under that, so we can certainly find that out
Okay.
and get back to you.
All right, that sounds good.
As, since the comp plan is, and our last comp plan was 2017.
Right.
And I do believe that it is coming due to be revamped or reworked.
Okay, so
here.
that might be something we can just simply work into that process rather than.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
I'll find out about that and ask Meredith to follow up with you
Okay,
on that.
thank you.
All right.
That's all I had.
Any other business? All right, hearing none, I'll go on to agenda item number 4, adjournment. I have a motion.
Motion, we adjourn.
Have a motion for adjournment
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Plan was 2017, where's the 16?